Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Or Mogezi wa government, because he's easily the smartest man on gang this morning.
As a journalist, not as a politician.
Yes. Please go ahead. You could use words like satin, silky.
Sometimes age comes with advantages. As Ofono Opondo grows older, his fashion taste has improved incredibly. In a manner so amazing, you know. So I don't know if he has a function or he just decided he should outsmart us, but good on you. You're looking smart.
Yes. Maybe it's his appearance on gang.
I take that as a compliment.
It is.
Very difficult to rare one coming from Joel.
You see,
he even struggled to make it a positive. So by accusing you to be old, of being old.
You and Moses have attended a couple of my daughter's functions.
Yes.
So when you have older daughters, you take care of them.
Well, what was clear to me is that you did not buy that shirt. So,
you're spoiling my compliment.
No, it is the taste of his daughter.
Nevertheless,
thank you, dear daughter. So, in the studio, we have a guest. This guest is having a difficult time. Mr. Sunday Protazio, you're most welcome to Gang.
Yes, thank you, Oscar. And good morning, our dear listeners.
And Sunday Protazio is the Director, Planning, Research and Market Development of the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda. And yes, we have you on Gang for the first time to sell a product that I don't know. You know, when it came to me that there's agricultural insurance because farmers had lost a lot of stuff. It came from Robert Kabushenga Post. Then Moses told me, Moses Siaberanga said, but you know this agriculture insurance. I said, really? So either you're not doing a good job or there's no one taking this insurance. Start from there. Mr. Sunday Protazio.
Yes, thank you very much, Oscar. And yes, it's true. There is agriculture insurance in Uganda. And this is one of the private-public partnerships. We've been doing this in partnership with government that has been providing premium subsidy. Now, premium is the price that you have to pay to access protection. We realized that because of the risky nature of agriculture, because of the difficulty of accessing the farmers, the difficulty of accessing reliable data, the risk was very high to be purchased by farmers at the market price. So we engaged in discussions with government through the Ministry of Finance, and government has been kind enough to provide a subsidy of 5 billion shillings per year since 2016-2017 financial year, and that continues up to 2024-2025 when what has been called the pilot ends, and we shall engage in discussions thereafter. Now, that subsidy affords farmers access to insurance at about half the price, and for purposes of operationalization, we structured farmers in 3 categories. The first category are the large-scale farmers. And these large-scale farmers are defined as farmers who have acreage in terms of land of over 5 hectares. And also... Okay, that comes to...
12 acres.
Okay.
12 acres.
Okay, or in monetary terms, if a farmer is able to generate 20 million shillings from the farm and above, those ones we call them... No, paya. That's annual. Then we also have small-scale farmers. Those are the ones below. But we also have those in disaster-prone areas. Now, the disaster-prone areas, Karamoja, Soroti, Elgon region, Kasese, those ones were afforded 80% subsidy. Large-scale farmers, regardless of the enterprise, 50% subsidy, 30% subsidy, and small-scale farmers, 50% subsidy. Now, yes, I agree with you. You started by saying that it's been there, but you've not heard about it. Maybe yes, but that does not mean that actually we are not doing much. We have tried to engage.
Let me start with you. You're not doing much. So, over the last 2 years, how much of the 5 billion has been used, taken up?
Yeah, in fact, 5 billion is annual, and by the end of the it is 5 billion per year. Then when the financial year ends, the sector gets another 5 billion. Now, the 5 billion shillings has been overconsumed. And that's what I can say, that as we enter into the second season, because our country generally has 2 major seasons, as we enter into the second season, the subsidy has been exhausted, and the farmers who come in later in the second season have been asked to pay full premium, because the 5 billion is much less than actually the demand that has been generated from the country.
I went to my broker yesterday, and they gave me a whole list of what they call high-risk districts. 45 districts are high-risk. What does that mean? That they don't get any subsidy from you?
No, high-risk actually have 80%. So if you are located in one of those districts,
like
your subsidy is 80%. Now, the charges on the market are about 5.5% of the value expected from the farm or from the enterprise in a particular season. So meaning that out of that 5.5, if you're in a high-prone area, you are paying 20% of the 5.5% because 80% has been paid in form of a subsidy. Yeah.
And then I've seen a form where the one you have to fill in to apply for this insurance. Do you have one in Luganda?
Actually, we have translated most of these forms in different languages. There is, in most local areas, if you go to Mbale, the ones which are near Uganda, we use Luganda. The ones in the north, we use Acholi. Luo. Okay, Luo. Then, so we have tried to, as much as possible, translate these policies into the languages that people can relate to easily. Yeah. So we've gone away from English.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see deterrence here. First, you must have 20 million turnover. Then you must have 12 acres. Then that insurance might not be for everyone. And how long does it take to get to claim? When you put in a claim, how long does it take to get the money?
In fact, Oscar, this insurance is mainly for small scale. The 20 million turnover are the ones we are calling large scale, and their subsidy is only 30%. But if you are below that, you actually have a higher subsidy, which is 50%. And if you are in disaster prone, you have 80%.
Okay.
So you don't have to have the 20 million or above. In fact, if you have less, as long as you can organize yourselves, because we have provided a mechanism where farmers have been encouraged to organize themselves in groups. Because if you have 1 acre, 2 acres, it will also be very expensive for an insurance company to give you the service that you need. So we have encouraged them to group themselves up so that a group policy is issued to, say, 50 farmers on a particular village, but getting that subsidy of 50%.
But now, you know, how can people work together? Let me tell you, people like Moses Biarahanga here can tell you how much his cow eats in terms of kilograms, not wheelbarrow. But his neighbor does not know how much a cow eats, says maybe they eat 2 wheelbarrows in 3 days. So how can you expect Moses to work with such a person?
No, in which case Moses doesn't need a group.
In which case Moses does not need group.
He can do it alone.
No, the experience that we have gathered, this has been a learning scheme. That's why we are calling it a pilot. When Moses has his records, then actually he can use his records to approximate the neighbor, because there will not be a lot of variation. One of the challenges we've had is reliable data, and we are using proxies as much as possible. So in that case, would actually be glad that Moses has some records. So within the same area, plus or minus, you can use Moses' estimate to approximate what is happening in the area. The same happens with the yield. If Moses is keeping records that from 1 acre of land, he gets maybe 1 ton of Irish. He has records. A neighbor doesn't have records. So we can use that record to approximate what people within that surrounding get in terms
because
of the area yield.
My mother doesn't have records of what she's planting.
That's true, and that's a major, it's a major issue, but we try to approximate.
But Sunday, you're on national radio. So what are you telling people, that they can all come and get insurance easily? We once had UDB people, Uganda Development Bank, and they came here and said you can get a development loan and whatever. But on the ground, people are saying it can take you 6 months to get this loan. For you, what is your promise to the listeners on national radio?
Yes, and without any fear of contradiction, Oscar, I mentioned that as a small farmer in my village, I come from some village in Chenjojo. As one farmer, I may not get insurance because an insurance company, or the consortium for that matter, will find it very expensive to access me as a single farmer. But I can tell you what I have done to my farmers in the village. As a person who works with the regulator and I have an understanding of how this thing works, I mobilized people. 1 acre, 3 acres, 5 acres. We are very much known in production of maize. And we bought a group policy of 27 people. 27 people added together, we had an acreage of about 50 or so acres. And we were able to buy a policy. Now, what do you need? Number one, you need a recommendation from the LOC chairperson who has provided an estimate of the area. And again, people don't know how much land they have. For instance, and I'm just talking of an acre. But if you ask the farmer in the village, they will say, about Chisawi. Chisawi is an equivalent of an acre. But once the insurers have that information, then they send somebody on the ground to try and see what has been sent through by the chairperson LOC1 and what is actually on the ground, ask a few questions, and issue a policy. Most of these policies are issued in less than 2 weeks. Now, why is this the case? Agriculture insurance is time-bound. You cannot issue it in 6 months. The season will have passed. And actually, a policy is issued before actual production takes place. Because when it has already started, you know that you are going to lose, or you know that you are not going to lose, so there is no risk, or the risk is known. So the insurers will give you a policy towards the start of the season. They usually have a cut-off date. So time is of essence. It will not take that long. Otherwise, time will not be on the side.
My final question to you is about trust and belief. For a long time, Ugandans have not believed in insurance. In fact, you'll find the average car driver only has the sticker for, what do we call it? The third party. Because they do not trust that you will pay. They do not trust that these things work. So how can you reach out to these people to treat you differently with this agriculture insurance?
One, we have engaged a lot in sensitization. I know, again, you'll raise questions around that. But two, and most importantly,
disagreed with that.
We've managed to open ourselves up as insurance regulator. Now, as we talk, about close to 60% of the premiums which are underwritten, this is the money that I collect from you, Honorable Katuntu, and others, to buy protection. About 60% of that is paid back in form of claims. And the records are there. I think very recently, there has been a very publicized claim of 1.6 billion. I don't know if you get to learn about that. Paid just one client. I can even mention, because they are allowed to be mentioned. This is Ambience. Ambience, I think it is a discotheque Yes, 1.6 billion shillings was paid by just one insurance company, a fire. A fire. So what are we doing? People do not want to be talked about. They don't want to be brought to the media when they receive money. So we are actually trying to engage them. We say, if you receive this 1.6 billion, are you able to, can we speak about it? Many of them will say, no, this is a private contract. I paid my money. I don't want to be public.
And fair enough.
And fair enough. So what we are doing is trying to publicize the message that actually insurers pay. If we are paying 60%, 60% is actually even much higher than the regional average. The regional average stands at 51%. Uganda is paying 60% in premiums, in premiums as claims. And why is this the case? As a regulator, we have issued claims guidelines, providing timelines, that when you submit your claim and all the documents required today of this amount, you should be paid within this time frame. Short of that, we have a complaints bureau, which is some form of an alternative dispute resolution mechanism, where you come, we bring the insurer on the table and discuss, and we publish information on complaints. No insurer would want to have 100, 1,000 complaints in 1 year, because that can work against them. So we are trying to push insurers to pay legitimate claims. Again, I'm emphasizing legitimate claims, because on an annual basis, we are able to stop not less than 20 billion shillings in fraud.
Yeah.
So legitimate claims.
And some of those, that's where the suspicion comes from. Let's go to Moses. On the table here, we have 3 people who engage in farming: Moses Piarohanga, Ofono Pondo, and Namfi. And also welcome to Honorable Abdul Katuntu.
Abdul used to until pineapples.
For him, it's a hobby. Joel, you need to do the same again. Description of Abdul's charts. Oh, because I don't know whether it's already been done.
So we're here praising O for being very smart, and then Abdul entered and he spoiled the party.
No, we are the old school.
He has always been a spoiler.
The two of us are the old school.
But I think the one for Abdul, he bought it because it is not a fitting shirt. The ones that are bought for you, you see like Senyonyi's T-shirt, that one he didn't buy. It's very fitting. Brings out his chest and arms. But
it's a nice one.
It's a nice one. So, the biceps. Moses, yes. Have you claimed this insurance before?
No, wait. No,
actually, that's a better question. Namfi's question is better. Yeah. Are you insured?
Me and Namfi, we are farmers. We have not yet insured
anything.
You haven't insured. You're done with the question insurance, but I know about it. I've known about it because it was not just a mistake. It was deliberately put in the NRM manifesto as a way of protecting. The most important thing has been farmers. Banks were shying away from lending to farmers because of the high risk. The risks in farming, you can have drought, you can have too much rain, can also be a problem. You can have a fire, so many things. So the banks were shying away from lending to agriculture. So as a policy side, we said we need to insure agriculture. And then because of the high risk, in agriculture, the premiums were high, are naturally high than if you are, for instance, insuring a vehicle of 200 million and insuring a farm worth that amount, the premium for the farm would be much higher because of the high risk as compared to another business. So the government coming in was deliberate that is through the regulator, that let's have a fund which can subsidize the premium Abdul Katuntu would otherwise pay. Instead of, that's why he said, for some of the farmers in the high-risk districts, the premium goes, the government, if you're going to pay 1 million as premium, government pays for you 800,000, 80%. In other areas, it's 50%. In other cases, it's 30%. So that was meant to underwrite the premium so that the banks can now lend is to agriculture. That was the thinking. But even without having borrowed, it's good to insure your crops or cows for that reason in case of death of anything. But the thinking was based on banks shying away from lending to agriculture. Crop farming, they will lend agriculture in terms of maybe processing, buying goods, buying produce. That's what they will lend. But when it comes to farming, they were shying away because of the risks. So that's the reason we introduced it. And for them, they are the actors. Otherwise, it is as we always say, me on the phone upon, this is the NRM thinking. That on the side. That on the side.
You see, Moses, when you are projecting this thinking of NRM thinking, about how many people were you targeting to get the agriculture insurance?
No, for us,
I have a friend who uses words like, this is lofty economics, but it seems like elitist and targeting very few people, probably only high-end NRM users.
No. If he's here to tell you, he's telling you his farmers in
I'm asking about the people who thought up these things.
No, it's the idea
for an insurance of 100 people.
See, the insurance is for anybody who desires. See, the whole thing was, okay, bring in what I see from what Sunday is telling us, maybe the 5 billion is small. It was a pilot. They were still piloting. They said the pilot is ending next year. Now the question we can increase the amount available so that if the 5 billion is small, can we increase the amount to a much bigger fee money so that more people can come in? If he's saying how has been the consumption of the pilot, because we're piloting, how is it been consumption? Is it in a financial year, is it all consumed or is it not being consumed? So there was a good pilot. Now the idea is when the pilot ends, how much more can you put in terms of resources so that it can reach more people? And maybe the other issue was are many people aware about it, maybe on publicity, as far as the access, being able to access it. Some of the questions you're asking Sunday are to do with insurance companies, because for them they're a regulator. You don't approach the regulator to insure your crops or animals. You approach an insurance company. It is an insurance company which will say, I have this client, we have inspected ABCD, it's supposed to pay a premium of so much, can you underwrite as part of the policy? So for them, they deal with the insurance company, not necessarily the client.
Yeah. That's very true. It's indeed our insurance broker is the one that provided me with the information.
Yes,
that I shared.
And then the question you asked earlier, you were asking, he wanted to comment. He said the 12-acre is for the large-scale people, not a small scale. So Oscar, you had asked that 12 acres is that for a small farmer? In his introduction, I heard him say the 5 hectares is for the large farmers like myself. Now, for the smaller ones, because they have less than that, so 1 acre, 2 acres, and he's talking about a group coming together. So for the big farmers like in Africa, Ofono Pondo, Moses Biaruhanga, our lowest is 12 acres. And you'll find Africa has more than 12 acres, so already it's covered within, this is among the largest. In fact, for me, I thought the large would be 50 and above, but it's fine. So for me, it's a good policy. Yes, the money can be increased if there's more demand. Maybe the issue now is publicity, people to know more about it. And if for those who have had cases of challenges and have claimed and received their money, that's good, that way. Yeah.
Ofanopondo, the other farmer on the table. I've been to Mulanda, to your place, and I've seen your neighbors. I've also been to Namfuka, seen the neighbors. I've been to Abdu, seen the neighbors. I dare say none of them would take up agriculture insurance. And even if they came together, they would not be able to get an acre or two to take up the agriculture insurance.
That's true. Let me just also
so your
say,
NRM thinking was for only people like O.O. Biaruhanga, Katesh.
That means you have not been listening to Sunday.
I have listened.
Very well. Very well. Oh, attentively. The policy itself is good. may be the feasibility, how it is structured, and the question you asked Sandy, education, sensitization, mobilization of the intended beneficiaries. But if you look at it, if Sandy is saying 12 acres is the big farmer, 12 acres is a small piece. Therefore, it means it means that the policy is intended for really small people who cannot on their own manage, because 12 acres is small. Now, if you go to my place of Tororo, and generally that Bukedi area, our acreage is 2 acres, 4 acres, the overwhelming majority of farmers. And therefore, if this policy intended to target them, I think it is a good policy. However, it is the feasibility, the feasibility. Why? Generally speaking, in Uganda, we have for a long time abandoned agriculture to illiterate people, semi-illiterate, and old people in the villages. And what is the consequence of this?
Even Ofono, because he has gone into this farming for retirement at old age, yes.
That's not
post
true.
50, yes.
No, that's not true. No. So, what is it? If you look at the country, again, I go back to Bukedi area. How is land ownership? In that area, you'll find I think it's just about 1% or 2% of land that is titled. What does that mean? That it is not possible for an insurance company or a bank, a financial institution, to actually know with certainty who is the owner of the land. Because there is no land registration, no land title. We use the
Sunday himself has said some do not even know the acreage.
Yes. True, that being the case, we don't have farmer registration, having the cooperative system having collapsed. But even at that time, I don't think farmer registration was very good. There's some now, and there's now an attempt under the PDM of registration of farmers in their circles. Maybe that will improve to know the farmers, and that can be tied with the question you asked Moses: how will your neighbors even know the amount of feed your cows or your goats eat? Because if you don't have farmer registration, you don't have farmer data, how can that be? So I think there's a lot of work to do, especially on the small and medium farm enterprises that the Sandys are targeting. The other issue, in my view, there is no linkage. Before we came to the studio, I had found the Sandy here. And I asked him, if this has been on since 2015, 2016, when we had NADS, we had Operation Wealth Creation, now we have PDM, Parish Development Model. How is this agriculture insurance linked, tied to PDM? At policy level, at implementation level. From this 1 million we are giving a farmer in Muranda Parish, how much of that have we told this farmer to pay in terms of insurance for the piggery, for the poultry, for whatever they are doing? So clearly there is no linkage. So that's what I'm talking about. Apologies, Abu, if the piggery may...
You should have given a better example.
But it's actually a more lucrative enterprise. So I think that's for me where we need to focus more. Not just increasing the amount, but restructuring the facility. Restructuring the facility. I had spoken to Honorable Judith Narapakova about a year ago when she was made Minister of Land, and said, if you want to help those people in Busoga, the government needs to have a massive sustained program of helping people register their land and give them land title. Then you will ensure what he started saying, that people just say, I was in the Kapelebyong about 2 months ago, and there people, when you ask somebody how much land do you have, he says, I have 2 gardens. For them, they don't use Chisawe. They say, I have two gardens. What are 2 gardens? A garden according to their approximation, is the acre. Now, a farmer like that, a landowner like that, it is not easy for them to access this facility. And if you look at that form, again, I was asking Sandy, all the things you're asking the farmer experts, if you want to have a veterinary officer to sign for you, how will a farmer know that this person is signing for me as a veterinary officer to look after my poultry, attached to my poultry, is actually qualified, is registered with the veterinary association in the district or in the country, and so on and so forth. So
even small things like email address.
Yes. So all of these need to be worked on, and hopefully, Honorable Tumuaze and his team in agriculture, maybe you should have brought the people in agriculture on this show. How are they linked to this farm?
Well, we have three here. Namfuka, you're the next person in agriculture, though these days I think it might be a hobby for you like Katuntu. But have you bought insurance?
I did not buy all those acres to have hobbies. And I am not at an age where I can afford hobbies, expensive hobbies at this point.
Those are for pineapple farming and 3 cows. Like
I actually farm to make money. Unfortunately, seasons don't end that way, but that is my goal.
Not yet. The need for insurance.
Then we go back to the need for insurance, because we may start, complaining about my life problems.
So you don't have insurance?
No, but I try to get.
Do your neighbors have insurance?
No.
But you try to get.
I'll ask Bat, because he's not on WhatsApp. He's a bit eccentric. He's still on...
This is Bat Kakoza.
Yes. He's still on UTL even. Does UTL allow WhatsApp?
But continue with the topic, yes.
Yeah, I was looking at you and and it's not normal to be on UTL.
Nancy, continue with the
Oscar.
topic, yes.
No, Oscar. First, if you say we are 3 here in agriculture, I would like the rest to also join. But I've seen Abdu doing some agriculture. He shows us something from his, but it's really at a very subsistent level. I don't think he's looking for money. Senyonyi, please join agriculture. Now you have some good salary from Parliament.
Nanfi, agriculture insurance?
Agriculture insurance. Oscar, I tried to get it. I ran around for almost a year trying to get it. The conditions were too many. And honestly, at the end of it all, what you said plays into this. We're not even sure that with that insurance, Katesh has been telling me that after his fire, they refused to compensate him all the money and they just gave him only 300 million. I hope you don't mind me revealing this. So we have this natural distrust for insurance companies because most of them make it very difficult to pay out. And I agree, those who are paid usually keep it as, this is Uganda, usually you have so much debt. Sometimes I have to put on my status that people who I owe money, when you see me enjoying life, don't get angry, because I need to enjoy life so that I make money to come and pay you. Otherwise, with Ugandans, you have to explain every time you eat a chicken and you haven't yet paid the landlord. But Oscar, it's a case of where do you start? We can't start with insurance. I think insurance is at a tail end of where to start when it comes to agriculture. Having been there, having tried to help the farmers around me. First, when you look at our policy, the National Agricultural Policy, and you read it, it's not articulate. Second, I don't even know who is in charge of its implementation. Third, I don't even know whether they care about the man on the ground. The president himself, when he went to encourage farmers, he got mineral water bottles, which if we used to water a normal farm, even for a subsistence farmer, it's unsustainable and it's disastrous for the environment, because you're littering plastic into the environment. On the one hand, we are here talking about climate change, the environment protected. On the other, you're pursuing a policy that uses plastic to water. And honestly, show me 2 or 3 farmers who tried it. I saw Bad trying it, but told me it's such a nuisance and a hopeless thing to do. But you see, when the president leaves that demonstration, he doesn't then come back and tell us, I found out since this. We had a Uganda agricultural insurance scheme piloted back in 2016 and 17. Up to now, we don't have a report. We don't know what happened. Maybe there's even a report, but it hasn't, it hasn't been publicized enough for us to understand what were their findings. Farmers, as we are at the moment, is it possible to offer us insurance, and when does it make a difference? Because you see, world over, farming is a critical part of any country's economic systems and actually survival. Food security is one of the key things. You remember the banana wars in South America and Europe, and the World Trade Organization subsidy wrangles that went on and on in the 80s and 90s, and most of these countries take farming seriously. And you'll see most of the farmers, you will, when you follow, because with my interest in farming, I went and dug deep with, seeing technology, say, in the Netherlands, how they are doing their big farms. You find a farm with just a man and a woman, a husband and wife, and they are running as a square mile farm of cabbage, or the one I watched, they were doing pumpkins. And then once they harvest, they do everything from pumpkin juice, pumpkin wine, pumpkins for Halloween, pumpkins. And they're making so much money. But we Ugandans, I don't know whether our natural, what is the goal at the end of it? Do we remain a subsistence farming country? Or do we then move to bigger farming? What is the purpose? What are we aiming at? And if we remain a subsistence farmers country, how are we helping farmers in subsistence farming? I drive all the way from Kampala to Nyenga, and you don't see even one big farm. But drive from Uganda to Nairobi, and along the way in Western Kenya, from Eastern Uganda to Western Kenya, you will see these massive farms. Kenya is trying. Have you been to Kitale Golf Club? You've been there. You've seen the farms,
yes,
that side. Yes, he's a golfer. He has told me he's teeing off at 1 o'clock.
He doesn't know how to play, but he loves
he tries.
Of course.
Yeah, it's about trying. So when you try golfing as well, those are two things. I'll follow up next week, whether you've started trying farming and golfing. So what I'm saying,
Nothing in conclusion?
What I'm saying is there is so much to do before we even get there. Trust me, these insurance companies, I need for money. They're not going to because I have been such a disastrous farmer, and I know so much. I have so much at my disposal. I even have the finances to even try this out. But let me tell you, as I talk now, I have 10 fish ponds on my farm, some with even fish. But the whole fish farming project has failed. And the market is there. Because people who used to buy fish from me still call me and tell me, do you have 10 tons of fish I can come for? And I tell them I don't. But there are so many things. First, it starts with the workforce. We have a farming group with my friends from Namagunga and some from Gayaza. And let me tell you, all of us, our stories are the same. They come into farming, they reach out to you, you tell them, come, we go to the farm, and I'll tell you the problems. And one of the biggest problems is our workforce, the human resource in the farming environment. I don't know how we are going to change that. Your pigs have a litter of 13 piglets.
Chicken.
You will find 3, and they'll tell you the rest died. We buried them here. You understand? Chicken, okay, even chicken farming. The other day I was called from Nyenga, and the police was there, and they had stolen 3 chicken from my farm. I had to tell them, I'm in court, don't call me for 3 chicken. You understand? But it becomes a nuisance to even you who is trying to farm. But the truth is, my friends, 2 of them were at police the other day with their workers. They had stolen things from their farm. One of my friends farming in Acholi, her goat farm was burnt down by workers. So we have a huge problem on our hands. And I think before we even get to insurance, and Oscar, I agree with you, we need to have topics like this. It's enough to discuss. It's not enough to discuss Nabanja and where the country is and the messiness that is
Moses.
politics.
That's Moses who thinks
that is more, yeah. But it is a good thing to discuss here.
Yes.
No, I agreed with it.
If you look at the form itself, says as you are filling in for poultry insurance, section 3, farm details, types of birds, broilers, layers, hatchery. Number 2, description of the birds to be insured, unit, date of hatch of birds, date of purchase. Question 3, cost of day-old chick. 4, value of bird. What is the system of housing of the birds? I'm going to take this form to my mother to fill in. But you need to pray for me because Sunday has said that she can get the insurance. So I'm going to take it.
Those forms are filled with support. We have insurers have put in place a number of.
Let me go to Kateshu, has a very big constituency in Bushenyi.
Well, first
and now he's going to take this form to them.
Yeah, first of all, I will also indicate that I'm a small farmer. I do coffee, chicken, and the other animal which I don't want to mention.
I should tell you, people really listen to these things. So BMK, just 1 second. He has posted a photograph of the old man doing that bottle irrigation on Twitter.
Don't laugh.
So I'm not laughing. I'm laughing
farm
at...
in Kaumo is actually a successful farm.
Yes.
Yes, it is 4 acres of coffee. Yes.
It is there now on Twitter. BMK has posted, together with him carrying hay.
No, we are not.
Go on, Katesh.
So for me, I think that the idea is good, but I think we need to be very realistic. First of all, I am a firm believer that all these ideas and policies, you need to start from the ground upwards. Because if you went down on the ground, I think you will be hit by reality. First of all, whom are we targeting and what are their problems? I think if you look at the biggest problem we have in farming is that almost everywhere in Uganda, the yield per acreage is going down. The soils have been used up. And so sometimes we think that, farmers are ready. But the whole value chain of farming has to be diagonized before you even come to the insurance. Because I can tell you that if you go down to places like in Shema, where the land ownership, the size of land is very, very small, you'll find that the productivity is very low, the inputs have issues. So there is a lot to do to actually bring the farmer to a stage where he thinks about insurance. If this program has been going on, since 2015, I think it would be better when we are discussing this subject here and maybe across the country to bring out the success stories in this pilot. The success stories at the lowest level. If we are able to give out examples and say in this region, here, this is how we have. Because if I tell you, if you brought my farmers and you start talking about this subject, they will tell you different problems. So you have a lot of work to do. Of course, I agree with OO. How do we link this to the PDM? And I think if we look at the current success or failures of PDM, part of the issue is that there is a lot of loss along the way. I don't know how the extent to which these policies cover, because for us who have done insurance for other things, there are always clauses of we cannot deal with natural disaster, etc. But some of the farmers are going through a lot of problems post-harvest. And so you need to come out with a product that actually looks at the entire value chain up to the market. When the prices go down, what happens? You have had problems of milk, especially in our region, where when there is too much milk, the prices go down. Then when it is drought, people are almost selling cows at giveaway prices. So I think the whole
even the maize issue.
I think the whole idea is good, but I think the Ministry of Agriculture, together with local governments, we need to diagnose this very, very well. And as you do the pilot, come out with success stories. I would like to hear what is how many people have taken it on in my region, what has been the story. And then we can be able to
maybe small money payouts as well. Yeah. Let's go to Joel here. Namfi encourages you to start farming. In your constituency, would you come across any people that need agriculture insurance?
In Nakawa West.
Or is this a policy designed to exclude people from Nakawa West?
For starters, Oscar, it's important to just look at insurance in this our country, how it operates. The highest insurance cover is medical. In Uganda, people are more concerned about their well-being first, before they insure their
After
cars.
motor vehicles.
Before they, of course, aside from the compulsory one, the third party, that one, and how many people, maybe you should establish how many people actually pursue that, the claim. People, it's complicated, yeah. But you see, about, and that was by the Insurance Association in May of this year, they outed a report, and they were saying about 1% of our country's population is medically insured. About 500,000 people of the, about 47 million people now is medically insured. That's a problem. Come again?
Majority of them MPs and their families.
MPs are only 500.
And their families.
And Joel, I think that's the policies which have been bought. I have one policy, but behind that policy there are 5 other consumers. So maybe you need to multiply that by 5 to get a real idea.
No, that's actually not the way it is. Maybe you should.
Okay, I heard the research and market development, and I'm speaking from facts. Actually, if you had to consider population-wise,
how many people are insured in
about
Uganda?
7% of Ugandan population under medical insurance.
How many?
So the 1% are the policies.
What's the figure?
7% of the 40-something million?
7% of 45 million.
See, sometimes when you use percentages, we just want to maneuver around. What is the figure of insured Ugandans?
Joel, you also mentioned percentage.
And then afterwards, I gave you the figure.
You used 1%.
And immediately after, I gave you the figure. So what's the exact figure?
7% of 45 million. You're talking about close to 3 million people.
Yeah. Sunday, you said you called Sunday.
That's 3 million.
Let's not gamble too much.
If you want
anyway, let me make my point.
But these are facts. There are facts on the ground. If you want to cross-check, you can cross-check.
But
it's
now
also not
this
good
man here doesn't know that on this show, you talk and then you listen to others. That's how we operate here.
You have found somebody, a young man was your age, who is out shouting you.
He's trying to,
and that's the point. He shouldn't just shout. Look,
he's trying to make you not mislead the people.
Anyhow, the point I was making, well, it's not my report. I'm quoting a report, okay, by the Uganda Insurance Association. It's a report they outed in May. I'm not an insurance player, so that's their report. So I don't know whether to believe them or to believe Sunday here. But anyhow, the bottom line is,
if you go for 10%, whichever way, if you say 4.5 million people are the ones insured out of 45 million, can be worrying. That's the point you're trying to make?
I don't know. I'm quoting, like I've said, I'm quoting a figure of the Uganda Insurance Association.
Right.
That's an authority in this thing. Okay. I don't know whether Sunday is an authority or whoever else. But again, like I'm saying, the bottom line is fewer people are chasing insurance. Why? We are a poor country. And so people are more concerned about quote unquote practical things to them. This person is thinking, so for me to pay insurance, that money I can use it to pay rent, to pay school fees for my child, or that kind of thing. They'll not quickly think it will be helpful tomorrow when I have a medical bill of $1 million shillings. This medical cover of 100,000 is probably helpful. But at that point, they're thinking, I don't want to let go of this 100,000 shillings. But let's tie it into agriculture now that's what we are more concerned about today. I think that before we begin to tell farmers, come and insure your crops and so on, let's help that sector to grow. Let's mechanize agriculture so that it becomes a very serious thing.
To grow, to even make sense.
You see, in 2016, in February, Mr. Museveni ordered for the giving out of 18 million hose to 6 million households. And I said, but in this day and age, and by the way, those hoses were meant to be given out in the following financial year, 2017, 2018. But he drew it closer because anyhow he was campaigning. Said, no, let's give them out now. I remember the opposition at the time made noise, but I said, no, it's a government program. It has just been brought much earlier. But so you're giving out 18 million hoses to people, and you think that these people who are using hose are going to insure their crops? It's not possible. It's not practical. You see, Moses is insisting it is actually possible.
Moses, why don't you have agricultural
Continue.
insurance?
You see, if people, Moses, if people cannot,
Why don't you have insurance?
Go on, Joe.
Moses, even someone who can afford their hoe, it is too small a thing that they will not be able to afford insurance. Now, these are people who cannot afford hoes for themselves, and you're giving them hoes for free. But somehow you expect these people who cannot afford hoes to pay insurance. I think that there is a problem. You know, recently tractors have been given out to especially politicians, some members of parliament, some ministers, and they have become personal to holder. And this is a story that will break one of these days. Oscar, be on the lookout. It is another of those scams, in my view. So this is a tractor that ideally maybe should be helping a sub-county or whatever the case might be, but they have been given to individuals. So this MP, this minister has it as their thing. It is working on their farm. The ordinary folks are not benefiting. And somehow you want them to grow and then insure their crops. It just cannot happen. Yeah, of course. Babat is just another of those. We need to do a couple of things. One, can we revive the cooperative movement? These farmers, they were thriving in many ways. They would do their things together, save their money together, bargain for markets together, and they had disposable income. It would even be easier to say that now the 10 of us as farmers, now under this our cooperative movement or whatever the number, it becomes easier to access insurance, because as an individual you're not able to. The same way as an individual it was hard for them to access market, but when they would come together, joint efforts, it becomes easier. So I think we are putting the cart before the horse. There are some basics that we need to do first, in my view. Now, if you was encouraging me to
go into farming,
to go into farming, maybe I could consider at some point. But not everybody has to go into farming. We can do, now if you can do the farming to make sure the rest of us have food, and the rest of us do a few other things. But those that are into farming, can we bolster them?
Yeah.
Because you see, with food, you can hardly make mistakes. You can hardly go wrong. It is more or less guaranteed if you do the right things. Oscar, 20 years from today, I don't know if we shall see these mobile phones that we have, because 20 years ago we didn't have this. But today, we now do have these smartphones. 20 years from today, I don't know what it will be like. These phones might be irrelevant. But 50 years from today, this banana here will still be in the same form, and we shall require it in this form. And that tells you about the potential of agriculture. You cannot go wrong if you do the right things. But we are not doing the right things, in my view.
Okay.
And we need to begin to take it serious. It should cease to be... So, yeah, there are people who are doing it as a hobby. That's at an individual level. But government, at that level...
But some of them have tried. It just became a hobby after they failed.
No, actually, I don't have a problem with them, because, you see, for them, they're doing it individually and that kind of thing. But you see, at government level, it should be a very serious thing. There should be no shortage of food in this country. We have capacity, in fact, to be a food basket of not just the region, but even beyond.
We are. That's our second topic today.
Let me give you another statistic as I close on my end. Uganda has... Okay, now East Africa has grown with Sudan and the Congo is coming in. But before those, Uganda had 48.9% of East Africa's arable land. That is land suitable for agriculture. About half of it. Okay, with these additions, maybe the figure has gone a little lower, but that shows you the potential that we have. Because arable land, that's land suitable for agriculture. Are we making use of it?
Okay.
I don't know.
As we stop for a break, Abdul, here's something you could look at with your comments on insurance and Sunday to close out the topic. He says, Oscar, I once took out insurance for my maize crop against all eventualities. We were hit by the armyworm. We tried our best to fight it with the help of government agronomists, using pesticides recommended by Ministry of Agriculture, and on harvest we were below the expected volumes. The insurer claimed we had not done enough to avert the attack and could not compensate. However, I wasn't the only one at their offices with a similar claim. How do I trust that next time I take out insurance, I will be compensated? Let's stop for a quick break, and you will start from there, Abdu.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM. This week on Desert Island Discs.
My guest is Fabrice Rulinda, Mayor of Entebbe.
I remember a guy of mine, he's called Tash. Can you imagine you owing your landlord 7 months and they're patient? And then he would tell me, bro, I know you. I know when you hit that deal, you're going to come and pay. And as long as I have a roof over my head, the rest can hustle here and there. The young people especially. To drive yourself, get out of home. Like...
Island Discs. Talking success every Sunday at 7 p.m. with Flavia on Capital FM.
Keep it locked, baby.
Fresh hits for Uganda.
If you try to imagine the taste of a regular cup of coffee as a sound, it would probably sound like this. Not nice, but perhaps it may sound like this. Better, but not great. Now allow us to present the sound of the taste of Star Cafe Premium Coffee. Now that's the sound of a great coffee taste. Because only the finest Ugandan coffee goes into making the Star Cafe Premium. It's great. The greatest coffee experience.
What's the best kind of business to invest in? A company that invests in digitizing education for all? One that connects Ugandans border to border with high-speed broadband on 4G and is the first to launch 5G? Maybe one of the largest corporate income taxpayers in Uganda or the fastest growing telecom in our country over the past 5 years? Well, here is your chance to invest in it all. Take part in Airtel's initial public offering today for as little as 100 shillings per share. Dial *185*85 hash to open a Security Central Depository or SCD account today. Once you have opened an SCD account, dial *185*85 hash again and select Airtel IPO purchase. Follow the prompts to complete the purchase. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Introducing the new and improved Omo, now in a new pack with an improved formula to give you unbelievable stain removal with a great fragrance. Try out the new improved Omo, now available at the nearest Duka or supermarket close to you from as low as 500 shillings. Omo, unbelievable stain removal.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. Many discussions in the break. Abdu, I've also been to your farm home, and maybe you're the only one in the area that could afford that insurance. And the acreage around you would be a problem for anyone to take out insurance. In addition, when Sunday here says people can come together, how do you trust that your neighbor Namfi will not create a fire to get insurance, and yet you're in a group policy?
Maybe I don't want to walk that path of trying to justify insurance. But let me say this. I think
Sorry, say that again. To justify what's not required.
Insurance, agriculture insurance, because I don't think it is the biggest challenge. As Namfuka puts it, though she gave different reasons. First of all, to our listeners, if you see a country with the majority of its people engaged in primary agriculture, just know that is an undeveloped country. Period. The more you have here people engaged in this discussion, our people in agriculture, the majority, 70% in agriculture, just know that is a sign of backwardness and poverty. There is no country, not even one in the whole world, where it's developed and you say there are people, the majority are in agriculture. Just look at all over the world. But they eat. So in those countries, the food production is high. And how do they do it? One, you go back to what Namfuka was talking about. To those people, that insurance can work. Those subsidies and so on, it can work in the U.S. economy. First of all the majority of farmers in the U.S. are all subsidized. They have the biggest subsidies. Today, my brother, our biggest challenge are two in agriculture. One, financing. Two, land reform. Those are the things we should be addressing. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I'll give you an example. Some years back, I was in China.
For Moses, people who write these policies for NRM.
And that's where the problem is. I was in China, in Shenzhen, and I went to visit a fisheries bank. Every sector has got a bank. Whether it is water agriculture, they have a bank. So credit is tailored towards that particular agriculture sector. And that's what our people should be doing. That if you are a cattle farmer in Ankole and you need a credit, then the officer should provide credit tailored towards the cattle farmer, which is different from a cabbage grower. All of you are running to commercial banks to get a 19-20% loan to do the same. It doesn't work that way.
Abdul,
and it has never worked anywhere in the world.
Even farmland is no longer allowed as security anymore. That's how bad this is.
So, what our big brains, like my brother here, we are put good brains. Yes, you're very good at marketing, good at insurance, but please. If we are doing an agriculture policy, let us address the needs of our people. And how do we get the majority of them outside agriculture and free land from peasantry, farming, and we go to bigger productivity like the OOs, the Viarohangas, the Namfukas. Then you can do one. I'm not so sure. Yeah, so we are doing. It's a good policy, but I'm not so sure whether you are serving this country like you should. One, if you are getting this subsidy, you are talking about 5 billion. First of all, it's little money, of course, but if I had that money, I would be investing it differently, and not in agriculture insurance.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Sunday Protazio. What do you take from this topic? Moses wanted to add in a word to support.
Before Sunday can close the topic, you see, I appreciate the comments made by colleagues in the studio. Like Nafi was mentioning about the losses on farms through some of the workers and so forth.
And a child who texted saying he tried everything to claim.
Well, all that is real. At least I'm a farmer, I know it. In fact, recently I employed the manager from Kenya because of challenges. No. And do you know that we are in East Africa? Free movement of labor.
Moses, your 2 minutes are ending.
Free movement of labor.
You had 2 minutes.
So, yeah, we are implementing East African community. So, for me, those challenges like which NAFI has raised are the real cause for insurance. You're talking about farm losses. You're talking about a result of either theft and so forth. That is the reason for insurance, in my opinion. Honorable Katesh raised the issues about are these working for. We see in Uganda we have different categories of farmers. Yes, if it is not working for some of the farmers, but it's meant for all, for those whom it can work for, let them go for it. I would raise the issue that one of the challenges in farming is financing. I agree with him. And in my earlier talk, I mentioned that part of the reason we introduced this policy was for those farmers who want to get funding from banks. Banks were shying away. Now, I would say capital is part of the challenge. Yes, it's part of the challenge. As you go to the banks to borrow money, they're telling you, our culture, we are not so sure what if this happens. So you need insurance. So the funding of even when it is personal money, Wait. Whether it is, even a commercial bank will need insurance. There's no doubt about it.
You see, first of all, establish the bank.
Abdu, even when it is your own money, without even a bank, if you are going to invest in a substantial amount of money, my advice would be get insurance, because anything can happen. Now the question I would be asking...
You made the point.
The question I would be asking Sunday would be, what is included in the policies which we are insuring against? That one would if it is a drought, which is nature, would the insurance company pay? Would it be covered? If it is too much flood, if a flood come and clear my garden,
I sent you some.
It's just nature, yes.
Moses, I sent you some forms which
covered?
shows that they say that they will cover those.
Yeah. So,
but thank you. Let's get Sunday to close out.
Let him say it for the public to hear.
And Abdu, when you're talking about banks, they closed the banks. You had cooperative
Thank
banks.
you very much, colleagues, for this very interesting conversation. When I was coming, actually, I expected most of the comments which have been made, because we are coming from a history that we are trying to work and clean. I will go straight to the issue of what these policies cover. There are two broad policies on the market. One is what we call weather index, which is based on drought and excessive rainfalls. Then the other one is what we call multi-peril. Multi-peril covers even now what Charles asked. Charles asked about the pests. Now, if he took...
No, Charles said he didn't get paid.
Yes, and I want to clarify on that. I would want to know, and actually maybe you could share my number, he can come to my office. I would want to know what kind of policy he took. If he took weather index will not be extended to pests.
Took all eventualities.
But if he took multi-peril, or for all eventualities,
yes.
I would ask two or three questions from him when he comes to my office. One is that insurance is not a substitute for good risk management. That's a principle world over. It does not mean that when you take insurance, you sit aside and do not do good farm management practices. So I would want to know what kind of practices was implementing, what kind of pests and diseases did he use, and if actually what he says is what he did, I can assure him that his claim is payable. Let him come to our office. We are just located on Lumumba Avenue, Insurance Towers, and ask for Sunday specifically. I will deal with his case up to conclusion.
Finally,
you
have someone on Twitter supporting you, on X, formerly Twitter, Isaac Mwezi. Gangsters are politicizing agriculture insurance. No one is supporting Sunday. Climate change, drought, excessive rainfall, floods, uncontrollable pests and disease affect productivity. Agriculture insurance is the solution.
Okay, thank you very much for the support. In terms of for Honorable Joel,
does he work in your office?
Honorable Joel, when I mentioned these figures, I'm actually an authority. I work with the Insurance Regulatory Authority. You quoted an association statistic. I'm not saying that it's not valid, but if I were you, I would go for the regulator's statistic, because we have the mandate to collect the data and provide accurate statistics to the population. Just wanted to tell you that I'm an authority. In that area, and for my sister, the report is actually there. You may interest yourself in getting the report on our website and get to see how much this premium subsidy has achieved over the years. If I can mention a few statistics, over 1.6 trillion value in terms of possible losses have been insured over the years. We call it sum insured, 1.61 trillion. And in terms of numbers, cumulatively, we are closing into 1 million people. Now, there is always a starting point. If they tell you to slaughter an elephant, it looks too big, but you cannot say that they cannot slaughter it. You take a step and see how you deal with the other issues as you move along. So agriculture is a very big issue. I agree that it cannot be, the problems in the sector cannot be solved by agriculture insurance. It has to be a multifaceted approach. But we cannot kick out agriculture insurance, because at least it settles the risks associated with production, which is a key issue in our country.
Okay. Thank you so much for Mr. Sunday Protasio. Thank you so much for the information you've given. Sunday Protasio is the Director, Planning, Research and Market Development in the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda. So we go to the next topic, in inflation. Abdu, you're coming on microphone first because as you've been gallivanting around the world, you should know a lot more about inflation. So if our inflation dropped in September to 2.7%, and that's seen as a good thing, why are people complaining, the general population, those who don't have Sunday's insurance, that they are unhappy with the poverty that they have? And then you have people like Moses who don't even need that insurance. They say Uganda is in a really good place, admired by many countries.
You see, if inflation was high, the situation would have been worse. I mean, it's common sense.
That's another way to look at it.
If you are crying now when inflation is low, I don't know what would have happened if inflation was high. So, one, we need to congratulate ourselves that we have managed as a country to keep the inflation low. That's number one. Number two, what is the main driver to this? What is the main driver to this? I think it's because of food. Because ordinarily, food is the biggest the driver to inflation. But Uganda, we are so gifted that, one, with all our problems we have, just look at here. Whether this part of the elitist way of living and so on, but people are just looking at food here.
Supplied by
they are just
supplied by Star Cafe and Mega Yogurt.
Yes, and variety of food. So to me, the biggest advantage the country has is whether the fuel is still high, all our imported books are still high and so on, there is still food to eat. And that is the only reason. And obviously, even the NAFCA. I don't know, NAFCA should get excited. So, yes, the statistics are correct, I think, in my view. There has been a bumper harvest. We still have, I don't know how much a bunch of matoke is now, but should be in 20 to 30,000. You should be getting one. Other countries which have challenges of food are in trouble. And that's why you see the figures when you look at the continent. All those countries that are food insecure, their inflation is high. What do we have to do? We need just to continue having investing the little money we have in agriculture. And the food we have, we need to even earn more by exporting. Produce more, export, and earn more money, and then we invest in other areas.
Abdul, I want to move. So, technically, Moses, instead of shouting out that inflation dropped to 2.7%, should be shouting out, this is how much we are putting into agriculture.
Are they contradictory?
They can be contradictory.
No, they are not. Your inflation should, first of all, inflation should be low. That's the basic. And then, can we continue investing more money in agriculture? Of course. And what we are saying, even when the gentleman from insurance was here, is that in agriculture, are we addressing the real challenges? For example, you are talking about weather, drought, and so on. That can be sorted out by irrigation. How much money are we investing such that we don't remain at the vagaries of what? Of weather. You get it? So those are the challenges in the sector. As far as the country having other problems, of course, they will always be there.
Joe, yesterday, after having arguments with Moses, I conducted a random survey on prices between this year and last year. And food prices.
I've just been looking at
items.
What I want to know. Which
so beans, current going price is 5,300. 2022 it was 3,000. Matoke around 45,000 around Kampala. Last year it was between 18,000 and 25,000. Sugar right now 6,000, between 5,700 to 6,000 right now. Last year it was 4,000. Salt has gone down from 25,000 a carton to 18,000. Rice has gone mad. Bar soap has come down. Posho has gone up. So, what I'm requesting you, what I'm putting to you, maybe Joel, that this inflation has gone down, but not a lot to do with Moses's, not a lot to do with Moses's policies. Where the ones where you can have policies, the prices are still high.
And that's a big problem, because you see some of these things happen, whether we do anything or not, or perhaps because of other factors altogether. Yeah,
like food in Uganda.
Yeah, sometimes farmers will be lucky, the rains will come in good amounts. Sometimes they come in crazy amounts, and then the entire crop is destroyed. So they come in good amounts, and so there is availability of some food. But let's broaden this, Oscar, and look at when you called yourself the average Ugandan. Namfi here whispered something in my ear and said, now Mwalimu is also calling himself an average Ugandan. but let's look at
but how can I be an average Ugandan? I'm a school principal.
Yes, sir.
Moderator of Capital Gang.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
so she she was saying, don't complain about being it was a side talk. You see, on average, when you want to look at economics in the very practical sense, look at how many young people are employed versus those that are unemployed. Look at the cost of education. Look at the cost of healthcare, because all of these, by the way, go to show for how much disposable income people get to have to do numerous things. There are things that people will still endeavor to have because it is for survival. So when food is high in some cases, like this matoke, they will chip off money elsewhere and make sure they're able to have some food. Our economy is struggling, Oscar. That's the reality. Even the monies that we keep borrowing to come and feed into our economy, eventually they will be concentrated in the hands of a few. That's what our economy is like. We are a heavily indebted poor country. The last I checked, our debt burden was about 88 trillion shillings. It is growing by the day, because even this week, the Minister of Finance was in Parliament seeking approval to borrow more money. And so it keeps going higher and higher, and there's a resultant effect on the nation and on the national. So even as we analyze these economics figures and say now our GDP per capita has grown a little bit higher, our purchasing power parity and all of these different things, let's be practical and see the economic situation through an ordinary lens and see how much money do we make, how much money is URA collecting. They keep struggling to hit their targets. We're inquiring into them recently because the economy is problematic. It's tough. And so they say, look, we are trying our best, but this is what we are able to collect. What do we do? Okay? And even that which is collected, most of it is stolen. That's the picture of our country's economy. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, but you see, the IGG told you the other day that
10 trillion has been
every year.
Go on.
Yeah, because you see, if she said that over 10 trillion shillings is stolen per year. So if we are collecting about 20 trillion,
okay, so some of it is stolen. Does that make any difference?
Are you happier if we say some of it?
Okay. Joe,
so okay, we can even say half of it. Yeah. So that's our economy. So the praise singers should not get excited that now there's a figure which is showing, okay, we've gone down 1% level and so on. There are these bigger issues that we need to address that will not go away by us being excited that now inflation is down 1 percentage point. Now our GDP per capita has gone up 1 percentage point and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. Namfi, just squeeze you in quickly before the break. You know that time we came to your place in the village.
Nyenga.
Nyenga. There was a fellow, we gave him 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
I don't quite remember what he did. Maybe he directed he was so happy with 1,000 shillings, extremely happy. But then I went away thinking,
now he has 1 million by PDM.
Now should I
PDM.
feel good that I gave someone 1,000 shillings the way Moses does?
But that guy has food.
He does.
You see, Oscar, one of the things you can say about Uganda.
Abdul, that guy has food, but I'm saying
by the time
Moses has no consequence to his food.
And two, he doesn't rent.
Yeah. Go on.
Oscar, one of the things you can say about Uganda is that we are gifted by nature. By nature, not by NRM. So when NRM tries to take credit of our gifts by nature, they're about to take credit for the air we breathe, that we woke up in the morning.
That's why we are stopping.
No, you see, it reminds me of the saying,
trees are growing.
Peace and prosperity are not a privilege. They are every human being's right. They're not a privilege. So you will find that as a government, for the good things that happen, you seldom get credit unless you're directly related to it. But for the bad that happens, you will be blamed because... No, because that is the nature of being. When good things happen to us, would like to say that we were entitled to it. So when you see a country with land which is so fertile that in most of these subsistence farmers don't even need fertilizers to grow healthy beans over a season for their gardens to thrive, that you cannot take credit for. Back to inflation. You see, what is inflation? You get the consumer price index this year, get the index last year, and calculate the percentage of either the rise in inflation or the fall. And as we tell Moses every day, and even our blazer here, Abdu, gave you a book, Lying by Statistics, How to Lie using statistics. You can come up with any statistics. But if Oscar tells you, I bought sugar last year at 4,000 shillings, because sugar is a staple in every home. And this year I'm buying it 6,600, and that is the price.
And I probably have the same money that I had last year.
I bought my fuel at the beginning of the year at 4,800, and now I'm buying it at 5,480. I bought my liver last year at 18,000.
You even eat liver?
No, not my liver, like liver.
We know what she's the one who's not average. So, because the listeners here don't know liver.
Okay, we go back to beans. We bought the beans. So you, Moses, cannot then tell him, no, you're lying. This is his reality. So you can't come on radio and tell us anyone who does not agree with our inflation figures is a liar. People know what they live. And you're running people's lives. You're not running numbers for the sake of numbers. So when because you see, these numbers are very subjective. You could come here and tell me anything. I told you, one time I worked in government and we used to forge numbers. We were tired. We were doing statistics and we were tired, and you'd sit there and fill in some of these forms yourself. So at the end of the day, when you start coming and sprouting numbers on the radio show, trust me, many Ugandans there are not impressed. So if you go to Morocco and you're the blue-eyed boys of the show because you're saying you're doing so well. If Investment Authority says Uganda has the most satisfied investors, and I have clients who are investors crying every day and saying, I'll move to another country, I'm going to remove my investments. You're then, your utterances are irrelevant.
The president has actually appointed Kanona Kalema to help investors.
That is a useless thing.
Because investors are
Oscar,
struggling.
don't start me on those things. Don't start me on those things. We have enough problems without Nakalima coming to posture and try to pretend to work and earn money, which we don't have to spend, and she's not solving any problem.
Now let's go.
But back to the problem. You see, the president himself in July, on his way to Oyam, during that Oyam by-election, He is one who said, I've driven over 2 kilometers. There is land. It looks fertile, and there is nothing. What do you people do, and what do you eat? This is the president himself. Yeah, but have you seen them? Do you see what they look like? You see, Moses, you can't, he did say that. So you can't come here as his representative and start celebrating the bare minimum. Please don't. And your figures are not going to exonerate you. We are still a very poor country which needs a lot of work. You can't do it, get out. Give another person a chance to do it.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Private Sector Foundation invites individuals, firms, or associations offering business development support services in Uganda for an exclusive information session to give you more details about the upcoming business development standards training in the following locations: the Innovation Village in Ntinda on Monday 16th, 2023 at 11 a.m. To register and receive information on this info session and upcoming info sessions in Mbale, Gulu, Fort Porto, and Mbarara, dial *252*8#. This program is in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation and the African Management Institute.
Grab a bottle of Coke, drink, scan, and enjoy the vibe. Your next Coke could be your ticket to a world of magic. Enjoy a Coke. Scan the QR code in-store or on Coke Kamini and stand a chance to enjoy great music experiences at Coke Studios festivals. Check out our latest music collisions and follow us on social media for more mouth-watering experiences. Coke Studios runs from 1st September to 30th November. Terms and conditions apply. Coke Studios, back with real magic.
Start and end your day with Uganda's best cup of fresh New Cafe and Omukago coffee. Omukago coffee is a blend of Robusta and Arabic coffee, while New Cafe is 100% Arabic coffee with the best aroma in the land. Get yourself a packet from our factory outlet at Coffee House, Ginger Road, and all big supermarkets like Quality Supermarkets, Mega Standard, Crown Supermarkets, Port Bell Supermarket, Joma Supermarkets, and so many more in different sizes at different prices. For more, please visit our website at www.newcafe.org or call us on 0741-996-466. New Cafe and Omukago Coffee are quality products from New Cafe, National Union of Coffee, Agribusiness and Farm Enterprises Limited.
Your washing has been made easier, faster, and more enjoyable with the new and improved Omo, the unbeatable stain removal than any other washing powder. Try the new Omo from the nearest shop or supermarket near you from as low as 500 Uganda shillings. Now that's affordable. Omo, unbeatable stain removal.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. Different discussions. Katesh, let's have you on microphone first.
Yes.
And I must caution you, Katesh, because if you listen to Ofonopondo and Moses Pierahanga, they don't have constituencies. But you, after getting, they don't have constituencies like you. But
my constituency is national because I look for votes for the NRM.
Yeah, but no one is voting directly for Ofonopondo.
He has been...
So voting directly for Katesh, if you go back to Shema,
yes,
and you tell people in Shema that you are better off because inflation is 2.7%, they might stone you.
Let me tell you, sometimes we have a responsibility as leaders to tell facts.
That we are 2.7% inflation.
And the impact of it. There is no need to shy away from facts, especially if you are dealing with the population that believes that you always tell them the truth. Recently in Kenya, one of the...
This is Uganda you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Uganda. Recently, someone in Kenya spoke about the situation and gave facts, and the whole country was up and down. And the guy came out brutal and said, look, this is what is going to happen. You are crying now, but it's going to get worse. The fact of the matter is that the inflation has been contained significantly, and this is credit to government. Because I can tell you, Oscar, if you go around our neighbors, what you can be able to buy here with 10,000 shillings, across the borders, you cannot even get half. When I woke up here, was telling me about the cost of food in Ghana. He just returned. It's just ridiculous. One egg, 4,500 shillings equivalent, vis-a-vis a tray here which is around 13,000 of 30 eggs. So at that level, we must be able to commend government, our NRM government, for doing very well on the fundamentals of the economy, the fiscal policies and the monetary policies. But also, do not discount the fact that there has been mass mobilization of people to get into agriculture. If I tell you, for me, I have a radio station in Shema, and every week there is a local gang taking place now. Every week there are programs to tell people on what to do with farming. We are bringing out people who are doing best practices to discuss farming. And so the number one driver of low inflation in Uganda is food. There is no doubt. The food inflation has gone down, the food prices. But also we have seen services inflation has also been declining in the country. In fact, for food, I even think that the inflation could have been much lower, because if it wasn't for this the Katonga, the Katonga bridge breakdown, because the prices of matoke and other commodities that come from the western region, this side,
prices went
up because of the distance. But it could have been much lower. I also want to say that part of this inflation, we cannot discount the impact of the trade with our neighbors, especially DRC. I know there is a lot of exchange that takes place from people who come in here and do trade and go back with a lot of goods. And so we are very happy. Of course, we have to continue mobilizing people to make sure that they get into agriculture, use PDM, to boost their production and get money. Low inflation does not necessarily mean that there is a lot of money in your pocket. So to answer your question, I will not say that my people in Chema have more money now, but the situation could be worse. They can,
Thank you. Fono. We'll have Moses come to this topic last.
Okay.
Katesh said something that we may agree with. The number one driver of low inflation is food, not NRM.
Not just that, he started by the policy, macro, micro, but specifically referred to the monetary policy, fiscal policy, and discipline. Yes, we have not scored perhaps 80% fiscal discipline, but there's good work going on there. And consequently, those combined bring inflation down. You cannot discount government. I heard my colleagues here saying peace is a given. Peace is a given. Prosperity is a given according to Nafuka. You go to Afghanistan, ask Syrians,
Gaza,
ask Sudanese, both south and the north, ask Somalis if you think peace and prosperity is a given.
But we know who took away the peace.
In that sense, government policy, government ability, government capability are crucial for the things you do. But I want to add, in addition to food, even food, it is because of government policy. Yes, you may have nature. But if you had the government, for example, trying to interfere in the pricing, if you had the government, for example, unduly interfering in the land policy, in the land tenure system, one of the reasons of this bumper harvest, particularly in this region, is that now somebody can go to Oyam, somebody can go to Amoro, go to Nwoya, and see the Bachiga who have relocated temporarily to higher land and are producing. For them, they had never seen they had never seen 1,000 acres of maize. Now, if you go to Amoro, you go to the northern parts of Uganda, you will see people having 1,000, 2,000 acres of maize, of cereals. So if the government was interfering in that private arrangement of landowners and people who want to produce, we wouldn't have had this bumper harvest. Go to the Teso Acholi side, and you see people who are buying food from the garden. Somebody goes and buys cassava. That's not uprooted from the garden. You remember there was a debate in the last parliament when some people from Teso MPs were saying, no, government ban people from coming to buy crops from the garden. And the government said, no, if it is a willing buyer, willing seller, we have no issues. Consequently, I think, so apart from just food, there are two other things in my view, or three other things in my view, that are helping in this inflation coming down. One is housing. Yes, we...
Not paying rent.
Yeah, no, we in Kampala here, in urban areas, we may be crying about rent, but about 90% of Ugandans, particularly the ones living in the rural areas, don't pay rent. They are living, you can say they are living in the shanties or whatever, but they don't pay rent. In this studio here, I don't know, maybe our young man there.
Me.
No.
Me.
No. Mm-hmm. I think almost 100% of the people on the gang today, we live in our own dwellings.
I pay a mortgage.
And many of us actually even have 1, 2 more houses elsewhere. Abudo, Katesh here, Nafi, we have all.
Nafi has already told you are not the average Ugandan.
Yes. No, but
so don't refer to yourself.
50% of Ugandans, as you know, because of our social structure, you have a house in Kampala, but you also have a house in the Bugwere where you come from. So, sometimes the house in the Bugwere is actually even more expensive than the one in the Mutundwe. So the housing issue is a major contributing factor for the inflation and the social stability. The other one is water. Water. More than 80% of Ugandans don't buy water of Dr. Silva Mugisha. The other one is transport. You in the Kampala, yes, you can talk about border freezing, your movement and so on and so forth, but the transport is another area. The only transport we are incurring, much of it, is distribution of products, trade. And I think part of the inflation could be, the other issue could be, the snag in distribution, trade mechanism, post-harvest handling, storage, and processing. You go to any of our markets. If you go in the morning, you will see tons and tons of fresh food. In the evening when you go, you will see waste. Now, I think if we can invest in cleaning and storage of fresh foods, so that people who bring food and buy food in the market have cold storage chain keeping. This inflation could be much, much lower. So government policy is critical, and therefore NRM leadership of the country is important in bringing this inflation and in continuing to bring inflation down. Yes, we need to do more, and NRM is capable of doing more.
So I have Philip here, who is in Congo. He says, I bought half a kilo of Irish potatoes. Their FCFA 500 comes to about 3,000 shillings. You got 7 pieces of potatoes. Food is expensive. Then a tray of eggs costs costs 18,000 shillings on a converter. That's what he's facing. He says, Uganda, we have more food, cheaper, and variety. Then another one, Beth sends a message that we all studied, and maybe, you need to take me. And before I go to that, BMK, regular listener, says, listening to the Capital Gang is increasingly becoming impossible. You are struggling and haven't got a quarter kilo of beans for the day, and you hear Nafi talking about how her liver luxury has gone up. Okay. And but Beth has sent. Yeah.
Not a capital Ganga statement.
but
that is all
Moses. Moses, you need to take me to Chankwanzi, and I teach Maslow, because Maslow's theory. Because if really you and you are into just saying people are eating, we are at the lowest level, Moses has been chipping in all along that they have food, they are eating.
Lowest level of what?
Inflation, by the way, is not just the low prices or stable prices.
It is mainly.
But also a lot of money chasing few goods. Now, in Uganda, are you suggesting that there are few goods? The very fact that we have plenty of goods, even in the back of Beyond Kaduka, is a good thing.
As I said to Katesh, you shouldn't be saying those on the campaign trail. It's Moses, you on the microphone.
Very lazy, honestly. That our concern is just that there is available food for people to eat, because our weather is good and so on. But can we be serious about several things? All was talking about transportation. We have failed to fix transportation in this country. You travel elsewhere, you are on the train with a minister and so on. Look at our mess that we have here. He also talked a bit about housing.
He talked about
we have ghettos, and he's happy. After all, there's a Karuf in whichever form. Let's stop being lazy. Let's be deliberate.
Can I talk?
Let's go to Moses.
Now, you see, inflation is one of the issues in the economy. Let me, on Thursday, when we started this talk on our forum, I sent something which is Mr. Ramadan Gobi, who is now in Morocco. I think on ADB issues. He sent something on Thursday saying, in Morocco, I can read it verbatim. In Morocco, we are the stars, meaning Uganda. The World Bank and IMF are asking us to give some lecture of sorts to other countries how we manage to perform miracles. They can't believe. Well, listen. You talked I kept cut when you were talking. I could have talked.
You are heckling, Moses.
In Morocco, we are the stars. The World Bank and IMF are asking us to give some lecture of sorts to other countries how we manage to perform miracles. They can't believe that our inflation has reduced 2.7%, lower than many advanced economies. That was Ramadan Gobi on Thursday, who is here in Morocco. Now,
that information, you can find it on the Bank of Uganda website.
Yeah. And because it's working, he's in charge of the economy. It's now working. So, you see, the issues you have raised here, yes, there are many issues to do on the economy. About wages, about so many things you have raised. But it's also a fact that, first of all, this morning when I was coming here, I talked to Dr. Chris Mukiza, the head of UBOS, about this thing of inflation, because I always want to get facts from technical people. I say, when they are determining inflation, like in the case of Uganda, it is a basket of commodities which households buy on a regular basis. They doing the household survey. And he told me in all, the items in that basket they're using as UBOS are 177 items. 177 items, not only food items, but yes, food prices, because it's one of the heavily weighed commodities everybody has to buy on a daily basis. It takes a big chunk. That's a fact. And so they consider 177 items. In fact, he said he was traveling. He said, you invite me on the gang, I come and talk about inflation next time, and I hope we can find time maybe in the 2 weeks he can come here with his people and talk about inflation and teach us, all of us. But it's a fact. If you go to some of the items, posho, maize, the prices have come down, milk prices have come down, and so on and so forth. So somebody is asking, is this just God given? You see, the 177 items are all not food items alone. Some are industrial items. As you hear, you were mentioning salt price has come down. Salt is not even made in Uganda. Most of it is imported. The other manufactured goods, which prices have been coming down or remaining constant for a long time.
Bank of Uganda tells you the import inflation coming down.
I'm even sure your beer prices have not been going up so too high. So that's part of the inflation. So is there government hand in this? Yes. Often was telling you the monetary policies the government comes up with. When you see Bank of Uganda giving you a central bank rate, like now they have given it, is 9.5, the governor mentioned the other day, that is partly to control inflation. It's a government policy. In the countries like Ghana, today the inflation is at 8%. In fact, the other day they were celebrating that over a month it had fallen by 2%. That was a very big success, from 40.1 to 38.1. I just told you here, a price of an egg in Ghana is equivalent to 4,500 Ugandan shillings. Here you are buying almost half a tray of eggs with that amount of money. What is involved in the eggs?
Okay.
It's not all about, and most of here, the eggs, the chicken, the layers are imported. So there is some, but the feeds are made locally, most produced locally, especially the maize. But also the overall government policy. I can tell you, we have been talking about this over time. In coffee, for instance, today the coffee year is October to September. The last coffee year, Uganda exported coffee, ending September 2023. Uganda exported coffee worth $940 million. That's the highest ever since Uganda was created.
And you know, Moses,
let me finish my point.
Finish completely, because
yes.
But this coffee point, I want you to finish off and then we move on. But the coffee point, my mother grows coffee, and whenever you give me that statistics, I tell her. Then she looks at me in a very annoyed look.
Yeah.
Gives me a very annoyed look.
Because
how those 9 million things do not concern her at all.
No, because you are a bad
when
son.
I give those statistics.
No, but
her,
you see,
I tell her you should be doing very well.
Listen.
Moses told me, coffee farmers, you are rich. You even exported a lot.
Wait, I said, the country,
and she's listening now. I might put on speakerphone and she talks to you. And when she talks to you, when she's annoyed, you hear.
Because she wants to get money from you, she won't show
because
that
the coffee is not giving her money.
Wait. The coffee.
I'll put on
the coffee we
shall hear from
the coffee we are growing in Uganda has been increasing over time, because more farmers are coming onto the market. And the good thing with coffee, it is mainly a peasant crop, because when those peasants sell their coffee, they're earning money. So it is improving on their purchasing power. So we are happy. I'm sure by next year we shall hit $1 billion. And when this money is coming in from the coffee, it's making the central bank or the reserves of the bank more solid, making it possible for Uganda to import goods from out, because we are making an earning as a country. So your mother should know that some of the prices are low, because her contribution of coffee, when it goes out, it brings in money to the country.
Thank you.
All of us benefit from her.
Thank you, Moses. I want you in the next report to also include Oscar's mother. When I talk to her about coffee, then ... It will not be nice. Yeah. Joel, in the last dying moments of the Capital Gang, so as a party, you're a leader in your party, NUP. To cut out this stalemate, are you going to get Honorable Zake to apologize? Because even the Katuntu Disciplinary Committee had recommended apology, though the Kateshas took it far. And now we have yet another paralysis. And all he needs to do is apologize and you move on.
Oscar, that parliament needs to stop majoring on minors and minoring on majors, in my view. There are things that happen outside of parliament, and now we want to import every little thing to parliament. Let us be serious. Parliament should be handling serious things, in my view. People will quarrel outside there. Now we are here on the Capital Gang. You know, if I quarrel with Honorable Katuntu or Honorable Kateshia, and then tomorrow you'll run to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other day on Capital Gang, Honorable Senyonyi said something that I don't like, that annoyed me. Can we be
Especially
serious?
Today you are seated next to Namfi.
You know, so for me that's my challenge, yeah?
There will be 10 things.
I actually don't care what is said if it is outside parliament and you are aggrieved. there are mechanisms. You go to court and file for defamation. So I heard the Honorable Chinyamatama saying he defamed me. Is Parliament the one that resolves, issues of defamation? It is court that does so. Parliament is not a court. So if we are going to reduce Parliament to this level that anything and everything that happens outside there has got to be brought to Parliament, it's a problem. It would be different if we were at a Parliament-related function. We've gone out for a field visit, for example, or we are in a committee of Parliament, or within maybe the corridors of Parliament. That's a different matter. But you're in some village somewhere, and I don't know, you say what or do what, and then you run to Parliament. Let's be serious. In that Parliament, there are people who are married to each other. So tomorrow they'll quarrel in their homes or even beat each other up or whatever. Does that become now a matter of Parliament? It's so annoying, by the way, that we have reduced Parliament to that level. I honestly do not care what is said or done or whatever the case might be. That can be a different discussion altogether.
Okay.
But if you feel aggrieved, you go to court. Because you see, she has the right to be annoyed. We are different people, I might call Katesh and I say, but Mwana, you are a fella. Katesh might not be annoyed.
Or that you play bad golf.
Another person will be annoyed. And that person has a right to be annoyed because we are different, yeah?
Okay.
My point is, if she is angry, take your anger in the right place. Let's not ambush Parliament with all these trivial, petty things. Parliament is failing to handle critical issues of this country. We are there. Who has abused who on social media? Who has attacked who in some village? Oh, come on.
Thank you. Abdu, you've been away, so you may not know the detail. But you may not know the detail, but as a senior person in that house, would you tell Honorable Zake, just apologize and remove? It has again been sent to you.
Posey is the chairperson of the disciplinary committee.
but in the last time, he told them that the man should.
You see his frustration. He say, it has again been sent to me. He's also frustrated.
Oscar, while I agree with Joel that we need to...
we are recording these things. So for once you found an agreement point with Joel.
That while we need to focus on serious issues, I want to tell Joel that members of Parliament are expected to conduct themselves with decorum, both inside the House and outside the House. For me, the conduct of our colleague,
go to the right place for it.
The conduct of our colleague, for me, every leader should be able to condemn it, including Noop, because you see, it was the kind of language used, but also it's provocative. Joel, if that in some constituencies, he would not have gotten away with it, and that is violence. That's how violence gets manifested, generated. If he was probably in Shema and he does that, I don't know whether he would be calling me to rescue him. So, for me as leaders, we need to conduct ourselves. Certain language is not acceptable, both inside the House and outside the House.
Katesh,
the simple thing is for
there's not enough time, but let me interject a small question to you.
Yes.
I feel that I agree with you, and many listeners agree with you.
Yeah.
But why be choosy? There was a time, Honorable...
But Oscar, have you conducted a poll? You say
there's a lady, I've forgotten, who accused a general of threatening her. There's that one. Then most recent times, there are honorables that took Mabati.
I have said,
and I did not see.
That's very dishonorable.
I have said
that you
when
people saying
money.
Parliament should stop. And
no one has said Parliament should stop.
Oh, those ladies.
No one has said Parliament should stop.
The lady has said Parliament shall not continue.
This matter was not on the order paper. The Parliament is run on order paper of Parliament. So people who say that we have diverted small things, it's not true. But a member of Parliament is within his right to come and bring a matter on the floor of Parliament. And that's what the Honorable Juliet did. And for me, the simplest thing is the Honorable Zake to come out and apologize.
Let her go to court.
And I'm surprised because our colleagues when they talk to us quietly, they say no.
Who talks to you quietly?
I will not mention, but most of your colleagues are saying, he did very bad. And
that's why she should go to court. You see, I said also that she has the right to be angry. I can't take that away from her.
Joel, you've already said this thing. Let me switch off your microphone now.
For me,
thank you.
For me, it is very simple. We have an unwritten rule that if you go to colleagues' constituency, even if you have different party shades, you treat your colleague.
Thank you.
With respect.
We're out of time. Thank you, Namfi. Good thing is Moses will speak last because No, I can't allow Namfi final. Moses will have final because Namfi has many apologies to make on her own.
We've said it before. No.
You said it before.
The quality of leadership in this country is appalling. We think any rubbish there.
Microphone, please.
We think any rubbish out there can stand, and as long as even the president said you go there in your constituents, drink marwa, and during those marwa drink-ups, you choose one of your friends to come and represent you, and you think and from that is where I choose ministers. This is a statement made by the president a while back. The truth is that for once I agree with him. The quality of our leaders, and where does it come from? It comes from the dumbing down of a whole society for 40 years. When you dumb down a whole society for 40 years, you get Persis Namuganza, you get Zake.
Now we are going to need an apology. Leave all those names out.
Leave all I'm leaving the names out.
Yes.
You see, these
she should
people,
be talking about people.
There is a reason why certain people get into leadership, and a certain quality of people is desired as a leader, and there's a reason why in most societies the bar for leadership is raised, because this person acts as an example. Because right now, even Senyonyi here cannot tell his daughter grow up and become Zake. That emulate this person, be this person, work hard and grow and become this person. I'm trying not to mention names. So at the end of the day, Oscar, it comes down to the quality of the leaders, and for me it's a deliberate policy by the government at hand to dumb down this country to a point that we think someone like Zake should hold a position of leadership. Because
Thank you. Let's finish with Moses.
I was going to ask Oscar.
Let me finish with Moses.
Very successful.
For
example, and I'm a farmer. So
Oscar.
But I've switched off their microphone. But I should tell Joe that Namfi had great academic success. So sometimes I display her academic results and tell students to get those results.
When you talk about academics, you don't talk about the other things.
When you talk about academics, you stay with academics.
To calm down. Tell her to be good mannered.
Moses Yarhanga, conclude.
By the way, Namfi also the studio is not a bad person. That aside, Katesh has said it all. That as a parliamentarian, irrespective of whether it is Zake, it is Senyonyi, it is Abdu Katuntu, the public expects you to behave in a certain manner up there, not low, up there. You should be role models as a member of the parliament. Even we, like senior civil servants like myself, we need to behave in a manner which does not degenerate the positions we hold in society. Society holds us at a certain level. Oscar, as a principal of a school, there are certain things the society expects from you. Now, it's upon us to either kill the positions we have, or
I agree with you. Whenever you take that line, I want you to squeeze in something on Mabati.
Degrade ourselves. Yeah, but even
squeeze in something on
Mabati. Yes, Parliament took a position to investigate the people. So I don't, and this was not. So to disagree with Senyonyi, on the point you are raising, the Parliament inquired into the question of the Mabati, but it's inquired. So if an MP behaves in a manner which brings the social public to disrepute or disrespect with the public, I think it's upon Parliament to call their MPs to order.
Okay.
15 seconds, ask him a question.
To answer him, Moses. So when Mr. Museveni goes on TV and is using words like idiots, fools, and all of these different things, what should we do for him? He's the head of state.
It depends.
On national TV, says idiots, fools, stupid, and so on.
Now, Abdi, you can see why I did not want him to have last words.
Why you have the
Joel, why would you like gang to conclude with such words?
The Cartoon Committee.
Joel, why would you like gang to conclude with such words?
That's why you have the Cartoon Committee to inquire into this. It will depend. It will depend into the context in which these issues were said.
But Moses,
President Museveni sometimes uses analogies.
Yes.
Moses Piarhanga, I agree with you. I don't like Joel. You now have students listening to conclude gang with such heavy words. But the conclusion I have here, Joel, the conclusion I have for you, Happy Independence Day. enjoy Uganda's next year. Mega Yogurt, thank you so much. When Moses is here, we have Mega Yogurt. Though today they gave me sweetened. Moses, I'd like another one. This is sweetened. An old man like me doesn't take sweetened. Star Cafe, thank you so much for powering Gang. Abdu has not had anything on Gang today because he's still remembering the other bathing water you've had when you are away in these countries. So, listeners, thank you for listening to the Capital Gang. We're a bit late.
Come on. Moses, you're supposed to be my friend.
I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and I shall see you next week.